Let me see. Your Chanel. Oh, I didn't know he was on a TV show. Okay, we're live again. Hopefully that works this time. I don't think there's an update to slobs. It would have done it on its own. God, so what am I gonna do when I'm streaming a game? It's true. It's 100% true. Damn it. Oops, wrong button. Let's see. Yeah, he can't own a gun, or at least until that's brought back and he's allowed to again. But right now, who knows for how long? He can't. This one I added just because of the headline. It's from PC Gamer. I guess we should talk about gaming since this is a gaming channel. So there would be at least, yeah, it would be at least one bit of gaming news every episode or gaming related. The headline is this Game Boy currency cryptocurrency miner will score a Bitcoin long after the Earth is gone. But the way it's laid out, it looks like it says this Game Boy come cryptocurrency. Oh yeah, if I could come into a cup and it would somehow get me a Bitcoin, I'd do it. Cups, bottles, yep. But it's yeah, it's never gonna happen. Our ancestors and our predecessors, no, successors will not even see anything. Hey, cause the boy come, baby. So, uh, slightly related to the border crisis going on. How come they're deporting the Germans? They're white. You can't deport them. They deported one German, a fake German heiress who was like this socialite who was hanging out with all kinds of big people. Well, she's got to have been. I read it a long time ago, so I'm not even gonna go into it. She was probably scamming people, and they were like, "You can't take rich people's money away. Get out of here." Yeah. Hey. and then he burned it away. Oh yeah, he did die. Oh, we can go into that, I guess. Well-known people who have died recently. Shock G from the Humpty Dance, passed away. Yep. Fat girls in the Burger King bathroom. That's all he had. It was that one hit wonder, but it was a great song. And now they have their own Big Mac. Burger King. I don't remember. It's probably like the Big King or something. I think like in England or somewhere in Europe, they don't have the rights to it, and Burger King could call whatever burger. Ah. But wasn't it like McDonald's wanted it and they were so nice they gave it to them or something? They did something nice. Or that they could sue McDonald's, but they're choosing not to because they're nice. There's Ireland. They got a lot of potatoes. God, this damn encoder. Why does this one work? It's gonna be a pain in the ass to game. I figure out all that shit. I did click the new one though, and last night it was on the old Nvidia version of it, and then the other one was just through the software. So maybe that I don't know. Pizza Hut. Let's see. Nvidia is saying that their GeForce GPU shortage is not improving anytime soon. I keep seeing all kinds of dates. Like it'll be at the end of this year or the middle of this year. I see start of next year, and I've seen the end of next year. Um, mhm. Yeah, but I don't want to pay more for that Tundra. I want a Ram. I know. Fuck. It costs more. Guess I'll just wait. You fucking idiot. Like a billion something? Oh, I thought it was a billion. That's... Wait. Why would they word it that way? That's really weird. That's like a kid wording. I guess I could open up this one. See, I'm not good with numbers, and then you gave me a number, and I just went with the first actual number mentioning. Ignore the thousands. Just heard millions. That's what we're making, baby. You joshing me? No way. Give me the link. This is bullshit. That's fucking great. It doesn't fit on. I'll bring that over here so people can see it. Wait, holy shit! Look at that belt. They gave him a championship belt. I know that belt. That's an AEW championship. No, I don't know where they got it. Yeah, I got the WWE one. I don't know where they found the replica. They could have custom made it. Yeah, you can't not know what their names are. They're all Josh. That's a cool thing. It's part of the Burger King Kids Club. Let's see. Looking at that one, and then Counter Strike match fixing is so bad the FBI is getting involved. I'm not reading it again, but apparently there's a lot of money in Counter Strike matches because of the items you get in the marketplace. They can get really rare and super expensive, because of the rarity. So there's that. What was the last thing I read about? Was a knife in the game that is worth thousands upon thousands of dollars just because it's so rare. And it looked like an okay. I think it had rainbow on the blade or something. It was like a weird color, funky colored blade. So I'm like I said, I'm not reading it again, but I'm pretty sure that's what it has to do with. It's just there's so much money moving hands and betting and shit like that. I can still hear you from over there. Let's see. Well, see, because they're fixing sports. One reason America hasn't cracked down on esports is because regulators so far haven't wanted to bother with kids playing video games. And it still continues to blow my mind how many people are playing Counter Strike. Like 2000, yeah, 2000 or 99. I'm sure it's referring to CS:GO at this point, which I think is 10 years old now. Even then, it's just Counter Strike with a new skin. I don't think much of the gameplay has changed. Unity. Um, let's see. What else do I have? Mhm. Siri says she can't hear you. Let's see. Say something. The desktop audio is up. I don't know why. Default. Yeah, which doesn't make sense because if it's on Discord, it should be feeding into the computer. There. Default? Say something?
Something. Anything. I'm getting no audio on the face.
What if I did headset? Say something again? It must not be feeding correctly. Weird. None of this should be messing up. Now I can hear him. Test, test, test. Okay, mine's moving. The weird thing is, in slobs, your your audio level isn't, or the PC audio isn't moving. God damn it! I didn't change the output. I don't know what it thinks it's outputting to. What if I did headset? Say something?
Something.
There you go.
All right.
That was weird. Yeah, I never changed the default. It was going to my headset.
Huh.
Hopefully that Josh thing came through. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was nice. If you didn't hear it earlier, there was a Josh contest on Saturday. Josh won. He is the one true Josh now.
Yeah. Josh almost had it, but then Josh came
Yeah,
back.
Josh. It was a real upset, actually. Everyone thought, everyone had money on Josh to win, but then at the very end, Josh swooped in, and he took the crown.
It's probably because he was so low, no one bothered to look down.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, Josh was
swiping angles.
4 years old, but also Josh was 22 years old as well.
Do we get to the sad stuff? Well, let me see. Do we have anything not sad? Oh yeah. Okay. So there is a vote for picking the worst bus stop in the country, or maybe even in the world.
Okay.
And there is a bus stop on Cicero and Elston in the Jefferson Park neighborhood where I used to deliver mail.
Mm-hmm.
And this was actually on my route before it got reworked.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, that was an awful, awful bus stop. Because, oh, this is also the same street, Cicero, where I saved that little baby's life.
Okay, hit me
So,
with it.
if in case anyone missed that episode, and that was the episode with audio issues again, um, but that was like 2 blocks over.
Okay.
So Cicero is, like I said before, one side is houses, and then the other side is the expressway,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an on ramp right there with the bus stop. So houses, expressway, bus stop, but the sidewalk is only on the residential side,
Okay.
and the bus stop is like on a mound of dirt near the light post, and then the on ramp is just off to the side of it. I don't really remember ever seeing anyone standing there because it is such a stupid place to put a bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's cars on Elston trying to get onto the on ramp, either just by a slight right turn or going with a wide left, and people on Cicero trying to come. And
How many people on Cicero are trying to come?
a lot. There's just a lot of boy come. They're trying to get them bitcoins.
More like butt coins, am I right? All that boy cum.
Hey.
Hey, ladies.
Butt come for you.
Butt
But
come ye back.
unfortunately, it was defeated by a Staten Island stop.
Of course, it was beat by a bus stop in Staten Island.
Fucking Staten Island, you can't be
Yeah, of
fucking
course, there's a
Staten
bus
Island.
stop in fucking Staten Island. The best. We're the best.
I mean, it looks gross, the Staten Island one, but I disagree with it because it's on the side of the road, and damn it, why'd it go back over there? Sure, it's on the shitty side of the road. That's the Staten
Mm-hmm.
Island one with the grass and everything all overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the one that's in Jefferson Park. They added these little graphic characters here. But that's the on ramp. This is the street, and that's the bus stop. And just on nothing. There is no sidewalk there. And then a block and a half north on Cicero, there is another one just by the viaduct there, and it's just as bad, but there's just no on ramp. And the only reason people slow down by that one is because there is a speed camera. But then
Mm,
they really don't slow down. That speed
they
camera
just
makes so
cruise right
much
on
money.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're just coming out of that viaduct, and they're not thinking, "Oh, there's gonna be a camera on the other side." So I've seen that thing go off a lot. It's also I don't agree with that placement of that camera
Mhm.
because it's supposedly supposed to be to protect a park. The park is actually tucked away on. It's not Ainsley. What the hell street was that?
Your mom.
Is it? It's on your mom's street, and it's in the residential street. It's not anywhere near Cicero, and there's no way anyone. And it's a one way coming onto Cicero. There's no way anyone on
Mhm.
Cicero can turn there anyway. So it's protecting nothing, and they're just making money off of it.
That's fun.
And the fun is about to end. Okay. I kind of lost any kind of energy to talk about this, even though there's two different stances in this situation here. Um, there have been more police shootings of people of color. Shit happens. I'm not gonna deny that. Whether it
Let's
be
talk about the guy in Santa Clarita first.
the the one who stole the package.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is a lot easier for me to talk about because this man pretended like he had a gun. And he robbed a postal worker. They didn't see anything, but he did the kind of like I got a
Gun
banana
in
in
the
my
pocket,
pocket.
fake,
Yeah,
fake, fake robbing a bank thing. Yeah.
yeah. And they don't have to figure out whether the person has a gun or not. They want a package. They want to rob you. All right,
Yeah,
go
it's
ahead.
fine. Sure. Yeah.
You live to deliver another day. And really, we are. This is what they tell us, and I believe it. We are our own most important delivery, and it's to finish our job and deliver our asses home.
Yep.
And then they called the police. Eventually, some hours later, they see the man who fit the description. It's a black man, probably a black postal worker because they hire a lot of people of color, mainly black. And I didn't know that was a thing until someone mentioned it once I started working there. And like even just seeing everyone, I was like, whatever, people want to work and they hire a lot of people. But then someone told me, aren't there a lot of black people there? Like, don't people think it's weird that you're not black? And I'm like, I don't know. But they found him. They asked him, hey, is that your package? And first of all, don't talk to cops.
Yeah. First mistake is he responded. I
Um,
guess that makes him a first responder. Am I right, folks?
hey, just say no. All right. I'm not saying steal shit, but at that point, hours later, you got it. Why are
Yeah.
you
Is
still
that your
out?
package? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
He
mine.
said
And
no. He said no. This isn't mine.
why would you say no?
Here, I have a theory about that ties a lot of these together. So I'll wait on telling you what the theory is. But
Okay. Well, criminal, stupid.
committed crime. Uh, I watched the full 2 minute video from Twitter that somebody took from their car,
Mhm.
and that I don't think it was necessarily it was excessive force, because those cops were fucking terrible at their job and they couldn't fucking handcuff a guy right. So they had to tackle him and then start beating on him because they couldn't do their job right. They were bad at being cops. Like this one isn't so much like they were extra brutal, but that's just because they were fucking dipshits. Like they were just dumb assholes that get off on beating the shit out of people, apparently.
I don't get why it's so important that if I went and tested, I would have to bench press 98% of my weight in order to pass the test. So how are these people doing that? How light are these people and doing that they're so weak they can't take someone down?
Two of them can't detain a single perp. So, same thing with fucking Miles Jackson in the hospital. They had him handcuffed, and then they went to pat him down, so they uncuffed him.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was dumb. If you're already handcuffed, why? So, first of all, the video doesn't start in favor of the people recording.
No, not at all.
And the reason I wanted to share this one or share this story is, first of all, they robbed a postal worker, so fuck this guy.
Fuck you.
That's my people. So right off the bat, I don't care if the package was from Amazon. It was being handled by a postal worker, so it's already a felony just by robbing someone who's a postal worker. If they had robbed someone from Amazon, it would have to be worth a lot of money for it to be a felony. So when these two women in the car across the street started their video, he was on top of a cop fighting with him. Could he have been reaching for his gun? I don't know. But the second cop grabs him from behind to pull him off, and his arm moves up to his neck. And these women are so annoying.
I turned the audio off because I don't need to hear your opinion on this. I just
as one of them is on the phone with 911. She starts going, "Oh, he can't breathe. Like, how do you know?" He's pulling him off, and his arm just goes around his neck. It could he have been?
He had it under his. It wasn't even across his neck. It was across his chest like this because his arm was under one of the guys. It was. Yeah. They never identified the perpetrator, but the cop had him from under one armpit and across the top.
So he's just trying to grab him off.
Yeah, he doesn't have him around the neck. That's one important thing to remember. He doesn't have him around the neck. Not saying what the cop is doing is right and the way they responded to the situation was correct, but didn't have him around the neck, which is good.
They didn't shoot him. They didn't tase him. They just, they probably tried to pull him down. He started punching, kicking, I don't know. But it became a fight. And they couldn't do anything. Two of them. And these women are just so obnoxious. It's like, he's in the wrong right from the beginning. And it's like their video, like I said, does not start in favor of their viewpoint.
It turns into being their favor after a bit when they start beating the shit out of the guy while he's on the ground instead of cuffing him. They just stop trying to detain him and just start beating the shit out of him.
I get that he was mounted on top of the cop, and then once he gets up, as he gets pulled as the bad guy gets
perpetrator.
Pulled off. The perpetrator gets pulled off of the other officer. He gets up and starts punching him. I get you're heated. You're angry that he was on top of you, beating the shit out of you. But he is now being held. Have him stand back up, cuff his ass, throw him in the car.
Yeah. Again, bad police work, and even though nobody died in this scenario, it's still another example of like we're funneling so much of our money into policing. Why are these the outcomes we're getting? Why are these the dick nuts that get sent to arrest a guy who took a package from a mailman? Like, that's our first line of defense against crime. These fucking assholes. Oh yeah, I agree. This one, it would just fucking dumb shit. Some guy doing a bad thing. I get it. he imitated having a gun, wasn't armed.
It should be an easy arrest to make.
Easy. That's an easy caller. Yeah, he admitted to committing a crime. Yeah. How did you fuck this up so bad? No. Would you like to come to the police station with us? You have committed a federal offense.
Tase down.
Yeah.
Done.
Did he? Did they? We don't know. They didn't. They haven't released the body cam footage from the incident, which is weird. For one.
Probably not on.
Yeah, because with young Mr. Toledo, Mikaya, and Miles Jackson, we have body cam footage that is we'll get into that. But in this scenario, weird that there wasn't body cam footage.
Maybe because no one died.
But again, why?
To them, maybe it was that clean of a collar. Couple punches were thrown, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
So let's shit. Where is it? I don't have it open.
Have what open?
The hospital.
News sources for this one. I went out of my way to get varying viewpoints on these three events just because I wanted to see on the whole what the temperature check was. For this one, Miles Jackson. Hold on, I got my notes up here. From lawandcrime.com, April 15th article. Body cam video shows police fatally shooting Miles Jackson in Ohio hospital. So, what happened with this was a man was admitted to a hospital in Columbus. That was what was the name of the hospital? St. Anne's. So here's what went down as I understand it. He was admitted to St. Anne's Hospital on Monday morning for a drug overdose. He was stabilized and he wandered out of the hospital. He was then picked up after falling asleep in a parking lot nearby the hospital. So asleep, I think he probably passed out.
Yep.
If he just had a drug overdose, that is a likely thing, but reported as sleeping. Police called an ambulance for him. They gave him first thing. This is where we run into the same problem we ran into with the folks in Santa Clarita. When he was initially brought back to the hospital, before he was brought into the ambulance and taken to the hospital, he was pat down by an officer.
Yeah.
While he was cuffed, he was pat down by an officer. The officer didn't find any weapons on him. Fine. Fine. However, the officer that did this pat down has multiple instances previously on his record of similar derelictions of duty, basically just not paying attention and not caring and not doing shit while he's in uniform.
Yeah.
So step one, bad initial police work. He had a gun in his waist. It turns out, yes, he did have a gun in his waistband. That should have been caught hours before this incident occurred. They brought him back to the hospital where they handcuffed him to the hospital bed, one, so they could give him treatment for a drug overdose, and two, he had some outstanding warrants for his arrest. So, fine. This is where it gets weird. They uncuff him, stand him up, and then start patting him down. They find a bullet in one of his pockets, and then the 4 officers on the scene are unable to restrain him.
Yeah.
To continue patting him down. 4 officers, you can watch the body cam footage, 3 fully grown adult men and a fully grown woman are unable to restrain Mr. Miles Jackson.
Shit.
In the struggle, The gun in his waistband goes off.
Mm-hmm.
They tase him.
Mm-hmm.
He scrambles over and falls on the ground on the other side of the hospital bed. There's a bit of conversation and altercation. One officer leaves. The other one fires a single shot, and his handgun jams.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 5 minutes, the police officer that's still in the room, gun trained and drawn on the other side of the bed, is telling him, "Hey, put your hands on your head, put the gun down, don't do anything stupid. Wrong fucking move, and you're gone. You understand that." And Jackson responds, "I'm not going to do nothing," because that is the correct response. But having just been tased, he was on the ground on his side. His right hand that had the gun was pinned under his body, and he couldn't move.
That I don't agree with. Because then when he gets tased again, they're trying to do everything right.
Yeah, this one is just and this ties into the Santa Clarita case and these other two incidents, but they tase him again, and the body's natural response to electrical current is Tighten. So gun goes off in his pocket, or in his hand while it's pinned underneath him. Gun goes off. Everybody starts opening fire. Upwards of a dozen rounds fired by the four officers on the scene.
The only reason he got a second chance is because that gun jammed initially.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for that, yeah, he would have already been dead. But he still, for whatever reason, I'm not going to say anything beyond that, did not let go of the gun. He had his finger in the trigger guard. It fired again after they tased him. And supposedly a cop's vest was grazed. Could that have been the said, "Fuck it, let's shoot him"? I don't know, but they shot him. He's dead.
Who knows?
Who knows? Even if he had let go of the gun just because he wasn't getting up and not being responsive, would he have been shot? Who knows?
But based on how the rest of the events unfolded, I'm assuming yes, he would have been shot if he stood up.
Because they probably would have said, "Oh, he probably put his hand down, probably just to get up." And it was near the gun because it would have been near him anyway.
Yeah, because again, he was tased and incapacitated on top of the gun when it fired that second shot.
This would not have happened if
if so much bad police work hadn't happened in the hour up to this event.
Because the pat down was not completed. And there was an analysis made that, yeah, it was an incomplete pat down just because he turned around to talk to him directly, then he stopped patting him down. Why would you do that? Why would you stop doing what you're supposed to be doing?
Two failed to pat him down twice.
Yeah, that was the before he got to the hospital again.
Yeah, the second time in the hospital, he was detained and they failed to pat him down again. They uncuffed him. A struggle ensued, and for some reason, all of those people on the scene, fully grown adults who are supposedly in physical shape to shoot black people, were unable to restrain him.
Taser was working. He felt it.
Yeah, he was down. He was out. For 5 minutes, he was on the ground, unable to move.
Again, I don't think just because of the first one going off, that set them in or they're already set. We're gonna shoot this guy.
And it went off initially because he was tased. Again, he had his hand on a gun, but that ties into a broader point I'm going to make after we talk about all these other stories. But we're on the same page about this. This was this was shoddy police work that led to even just fucking confusion and chaos and and a bunch of people who are scared. He was fucking terrified. You can hear it in his voice. He doesn't want at throughout this whole thing. It doesn't seem like he wants to hurt anyone. There was some news articles I was reading that was like, oh, they prevented a mass shooting. I don't think that's the case. I think he just happened to be carrying a gun.
Again, he already had issues with having illegally possessed guns. That doesn't mean he deserves to die.
Yeah,
criminals deserve to be sent to trial.
Yeah, but again, that we're going to ties into something else. So the Miles Jackson thing again. This one, yes, I would say the police responded improperly, but they put themselves in a situation where the only recourse was to shoot him.
So it looks like it's a good shoot, which it's how they say it. They call it good shoot. It's not a good shooting, it's a good shoot.
Which that's super fucked up. But I would say
it's only a good shoot because they fucked up so much.
Yeah, the only reason they had to discharge a firearm at all is because they failed to do everything right up until that point, which then put them in a situation where the only thing they could do was shoot. And then who else? We got two more.
We got
Mikaya.
Which one do we end with?
Let's end with the Adam Jackson one because it's the saddest. Mikaya Bryant. Police called to the scene, altercation at a foster home. Not the first time that the police had been called to the house in the last 6 months. It had happened on multiple occasions before that. She had a knife. There was a fight, and the officer's first response was to shoot her 4 times. Within the 10 seconds of getting out of the car to him arriving on the scene, fires 4 shots. She's dead. Not the correct response.
But here, I'll give you the but. He arrived already having been informed that people or being told that people were getting stabbed. People were fighting. He got out, not with the gun out. He had like so few seconds, and why didn't he de-escalate? He got out and asked, "What's going on? What's going on?" Empty hand. And people are fighting in front of him. Someone goes down. Mikaya has the knife in her hand off to his left. She is now mid-swing. So she has the knife up. People are saying, oh, she dropped it. I can clearly see it in the video.
Yeah, she's got a knife in her hand.
She's already in the swing. He's telling her to get down, get down. He sees that. He shoots. She goes down. And the reason I agree with this being a good shoot is just because she is mid-swing and there is no... She can't pepper spray her. People have said, why didn't he pepper spray her? What's her getting pepper sprayed on the side or the back of her head? Or the back of her head. Because she has her back to him, getting ready to knife someone. And that's not going to do anything. A taser, it could do something. It's been shown that bigger people, she's a big girl, don't really feel it as much.
What's important there, Renee, and I think one thing we're forgetting is that girl. This is a child. She was 16. That's a child. I don't think lethal force should ever be the initial response when children are involved at all, ever, regardless of what's happening.
Okay.
I just think that is a bad move.
But from what I observed, because she was mid-swing, she was gonna stab someone. And
Dylan Roof shot up a church full of black people, but he was a white boy, so it was fine.
Hang on. Because of that, that's what I think makes it a good shoot. She was about to try and take someone's life. Had she been tased, if she doesn't respond to the tase, she is still good to stab. Even if she's being tased, she could still be good to stab. She gets shot in the leg, again, she could still be good to stab on her way down. So it's fucked up. He had to take a life to save a life. But that's just the situation he was put in mere seconds. And a lot of people were saying he was in no immediate threat. But the point is, there is the allowance of saving a life from lethal force by using lethal force. And that's what I saw. And there is another video from across the street from security footage that you can hear what sounds like her saying, "I'm going to stab the fuck out of you, bitch," right as he's pulling up in the squad car. And that's what she tried to do. And he stopped her from stabbing someone. That is what I saw. This is where I agree with the shoot.
It was a paring knife. It was a kid with a scared kid in a foster home with a paring knife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think lethal force was at all necessary. Like, just at all. Anecdotally, so my dad is a teacher. He used to teach on reservations in Montana and Idaho and stuff, where it's really gnarly, it's really rough, a lot of violence. He has, as a teacher, just a guy, not a police officer, that's trained to do this, just as a man, has de-escalated multiple active shooter situations, just as a dude.
Mm-hmm.
So if our police officers, who are supposedly trained to protect our communities, can't de-escalate that kind of situation, what's the point of them? Because of that voice, at that point, they're just fucking Judge Dredd.
I I feel that the distance between the two, the officer and Mikaya, left him with the only option of lethal force.
He had
He
two
can't
options.
he can't close that gap, and I've already said tasing her could be ineffective, and that other girl could be dead. So in this in
But he didn't try.
But then if he tases her, she's fine, and the other girl gets killed. She's got a knife in her neck. Then what?
Yeah,
He's
but
fucked
he
either way.
tases her, and it does work. Again, we can play the what if scenario all day, but
Mm-hmm.
if the first response in all of these scenarios seems to be violence, there's a bit of a common thread. And again, the scenario around this, out the situation with the knife, it ties again into a broader point I think that needs to be made, which I will reveal once we finish talking about her and then
Okay.
the little Mr. Toledo. I just think in this scenario, she didn't have to die. Like, I just don't think that's at all the case. Like, I just disagree fundamentally that he couldn't have done anything. If he's a police officer, he's supposed to be in good physical shape. He could have closed that gap. It was 20 feet.
While she's already mid swing, I don't agree with that.
He didn't try. That's my problem.
So let's move on to yet another one.
This one was the hardest one to watch. The body cam footage on
Mm-hmm.
for me. Not just because of so basically what happened was shots fired. by somebody late at night
Mm-hmm.
or early in the morning. 2 a.m., 3 a.m. ish. That time. Shots fired. Police officers respond. Um, two guys. They come upon the two people, detain one. The other one fucking books it. The one that books it is a kid named Adam Toledo, 13-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, flees the police, which, if I was a 13-year-old kid, I would flee the police as well. Cop says, hey, stop right now, drop the fucking gun, blah, blah, blah. Adam stops. And in the video footage, you can't see what's in his hand, but whatever it is, he throws it on the ground and then turns around with his hands up like this and gets shot in the chest one time
Mm-hmm.
and goes down. Um, fleeing from the police, even while armed, uh, isn't a capital offense for one.
Mm-hmm.
Which, fine, that shouldn't really matter. But when the officer on the scene, I can't remember what his name was. Eric Stillman was the name of the officer. Um, runs this kid down. Good, doing his job. Has gun drawn, trained on him. Says, "Drop it." He drops it. He turns around. Boom, gets shot. Immediately drops to the ground. Um, a couple of things about this one. Um, I think that regardless of intention, I don't think that Eric Stillman, the officer on the scene who shot him, meant to shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, it was um the dude was really scared after he shot him. Like
Right.
it was other than seeing a kid shot to death, the amount of like just how fucked up the whole situation was. I don't think the office. I think he made a split second decision and he made the wrong one.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, the kid turned around, he had dropped the gun, and he still got shot. Um,
Okay. So I watched the video. The reason they showed up is because of Shot Spotter.
yeah,
So there
yeah.
wasn't.
Shots fired.
I don't believe there was a 911 call. It's just Shot Spotter detects that there are shots being fired, and it locates.
There were several 911 calls
Okay.
of someone. Yeah.
Okay. So I wouldn't. I don't call 911 for people shooting because
Yeah.
it just happens so often.
The police response time in my neighborhood is almost an hour, so there's no point in me calling the cops when I hear gunshots.
So they showed up. Um, the the issue that begins everything is he was hanging out with some 21-year-old guy who is in the gangs. I don't know what gang. Don't really care. And I don't know if it was him firing or Adam firing. but they wound up firing into a car that was passing by. It at least had a driver. It could have had more people, but it wasn't any like specific target. They were just firing at a car coming by. So once that comes through, the cop is now in the mindset someone is armed. I have to respond in kind. And then as he runs away, I'm pretty sure this guy gave Adam the gun because he's a fucking coward and therefore put him in this situation. So he's running, he's scared. And had it been in his left hand, my issue that I saw, first of all, I'm sure the flashlight strobe and it's not just the video doing that.
No, it's a strobe on
Yeah.
on his gun. It's to disorient. I have
Yeah,
the light on the laser on my handgun does the same thing.
It disorients the other person, but it disorients you too.
Yeah,
because it's gonna fuck you both up, especially when it's that dark out. So that's an issue there. Like you walking like the only times I've seen this is like in a haunted house. It doesn't matter if you are the victim, the monster, the actor is going to be disoriented too because it's still blinking in their end too. They see that shit too. So I think that fucked him up just as much as it would have fucked anyone on the other end of that strobe. And had it been, like I said, had it been in his left hand, it would have been visible. And he could have dropped it, he could have thrown it, and it would have been fine. But there was a fence. He had it at his right, on his right hip, and he threw it, like this. So it goes behind the fence, not in the alley, on the other side of it into a lot. And as he does that, he turns, but in a quick motion. So that's why the response happened for him getting shot is because none of that was in view when
the
you.
problem, he turns with his hands up. His hands are here when he turns around.
Mhm.
He doesn't turn while putting his hands up. His hands are up and he turns. So he's dropped between, it's 1 second. His hands go up. He turns around. There's about a half a second, 3/4 of a second delay while his hands are up and he's looking at the guy. And then he gets shot. The strobing has stopped. And now a 13-year-old kid's dead.
I don't understand the delay. He might have already been. It could be a heavy trigger. I don't know. But there is that very very strange, like, was it 0.8 seconds?
Yeah, it's
delay?
just about a second. So it's literally this long.
And he might have already been. If this guy turns around or not, he's gonna get hit. And he just happened to press it down just as he turned around with his hands up. He was probably expecting him to turn around with or without a gun and was ready to do it. He happened to not have the gun in his hand. And it was on his hip, the hip that's far away, which is what you're supposed to do if you approach someone who is a threat to you. You have your gun hip away from them, so they can't see what you're doing. And that's just the unfortunate bullshit that went down here. He threw it on his away hip. So that turnaround, that's just how it happened. Scared kid or not, it's fucked up that it was his away hip. Had it not been his away hip, I feel it would have been fine. He would have been fine.
And again, kid.
That's something that people do bring up a lot. I don't believe there was any notice that, oh, it's a 21-year-old and a 13-year-old.
No, oh no, that's not the point I'm making. Is why?
No, no. Some people do really, really get into that point though. You're not gonna stop and ask, "Hey, are you 13? Are
Yeah,
you?" As you're running away from me, like just the way it was.
I've gotten my ass kicked by some pretty tiny grown adults. So. But I think the broader point in all of these is first one, a 13-year-old kid has a gun at all. Adam Toledo, 13-year-old kid with a gun. Second, Mikaya Bryant, again, a kid
Mm-hmm.
who she had a knife. She fucked up. Kids fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
With Miles Jackson, we see somebody who does have a criminal record and a history of um, crime.
Mm-hmm.
But we also see a man with serious addiction problems and mental health issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then same with the guy in Santa Clarita. It's apparent to his from his response to the police asking him if that's his package, to him pretending to have a gun to just steal a random box from a mailman, from a mail carrier.
I
There's
think there's a
something
woman, yeah.
else. Yeah, mail person, mail carrier. What we're seeing here isn't necessarily entirely police violence. That's part of it, obviously, because they have guns. Violence is part
Mm-hmm.
of being a police officer. But what we're seeing more broadly here is why are these people in these scenarios? Why is a 13-year-old kid hanging out with an adult who's in a gang? That's not related. You know, if it's their dad or something, but still, even if it is their dad, like, why are these scenarios happening? Where are the gaps in the American system that cause these kinds of things to happen? We look broadly at the political sphere at things like the pro-life movement, where these people say, hey, we can't have abortions because that's murder. And then those very same talking heads are calling Mikaya Bryant an animal and a monster
Mm.
because she's in she's in the foster care system. Have you ever worked in foster care? It's a fucked up place to be as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Here's something I found out too. Her parents live nearby. She has access to her parents. So for them to lose her, she's fucked up either way. If they're
Yeah.
that shitty that they can't take care of her, she has to be in foster care. What
Down
the
the
fuck is
street.
going on there?
Yeah. And then and then the same thing with Miles Jackson, history of drug abuse, history of mental health issues. Why does he have access to firearms? Why is he brought to the hospital carrying a gun? Nobody knows he has a gun, even though they check him. He's obviously not well. You can hear it in his voice while they're patting him down. He's terrified. He doesn't even know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this system we have in place for policing obviously isn't the right
Mm-hmm.
thing, because if you bring in a guy who was that same day in the hospital for a drug overdose and you bring him back to the same hospital, why is it armed police officers who have no mental health training and no de-escalation training apparently are the ones holding the bag in this scenario? Why, in a foster care situation where previously the police have been called to the site, why is the initial response at this address a police officer with no mental health or de-escalation training holding the bag and forced to be put in a scenario where violence is an option? Why is a child being handed a gun and told to run off? It's not just police violence here. Yes, that is a symptom of a much broader problem we're having. And it and I'm not drawing this parallel just to be that fucking leftist, but race is a huge part of it if you look at police responses to violence. I mean, it's especially, if we look at Mikaya Bryant, who had a knife, but then, she's actively engaging in a violent act and we shoot her dead. But Dylan Roof, armed with an AR-15 and a flak jacket, shoots up a church full of people, still holding a gun. You're able to peacefully detain him.
Mhm.
So, one, why are these children, in most cases, or mentally unwell adults, being put in scenarios where police intervention is, one, required, and two, acted on? I have theories, and, but it doesn't really matter what I think at this point, because, me talking about education reform and mental health care isn't going to stop two children from being shot by the police dead
Yeah.
in the last 2 weeks. Like, that's
Um, somebody tried to bring up the uh, Kyle Rittenhouse,
yeah.
and it doesn't connect. Like, why didn't they stop him? He was armed. They didn't shoot him. Like, it's an open carry state, and they had already arrived, not knowing that he was the one doing it. So they didn't stop him because it's open carry. He's allowed to have that rifle on him. So it doesn't connect.
That being said, if you look at the police response to the rest of the people in the Kyle Rittenhouse scenario who aren't armed, getting tear gassed and rubber bulleted in the face,
Mm-hmm.
again, that's why is it different for the white kid with the AR-15 protecting people's property
Mm-hmm.
and not the case with people who are peacefully protesting police violence? That's the parallel we're drawing, is not between the specific scenarios that happened, but more broadly how the system reacts to these individuals. And when I say the system, I'm not talking about just the police. We look at conviction rates, so it's in the judicial system as well. Minorities and differently abled people are 70% more likely to get a longer sentence or to be convicted of the same crime. Same crimes at the same rate, but minorities and differently abled people are 70% more likely to be convicted of those same crimes. So when I draw the parallel to Kyle Rittenhouse and Mikaya Bryant, it isn't kid with a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
It's the structural response to a girl and the structural response to white young men. And I think if we zoom out of these individual instances, and it's not to quote Joseph Stalin, but I think this fits very well. A single death is a tragedy. A million deaths is a statistic. When we zoom so far into these instances, they are harrowing and depressing. And I sit there crying, listening to this police officer try to keep a 13-year-old kid alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard, but then we have to zoom out and say, okay, this is happening hundreds of times a week across the country. These are just the ones we're seeing. So how do we fix that part of the problem rather than, just focusing on the individual police officer response to these situations? Because he had a snap decision to make. There was someone who was previously armed. The kid puts his hands up and turns around. Unfortunately, he turned the wrong way. He had the wrong hip. He was pivoting on the wrong hip, which he had no idea. He's a 13-year-old kid. And it's like fucked up. And we can focus on that, and we really can, because we can learn from this. But more broadly, we have to look at the structures we have in place and say, what are the important things? Where do we need to focus our energy? When we say defund the police, we're not saying execute all cops. We're saying we need to take money away from buying MRAPs and grenade launchers and focus on community outreach and mental health care.
And really, really look into those that have their records.
Or not will do it or get it done, there's no money in it. So because Raytheon doesn't make therapists, they make MRAPs and grenade launchers, I guess.
And shit, why does it keep going? Okay. I already forgot what I was gonna say. Any officer who has negative marks on his record, has been gone. The YouTube one kept going, and now that one's gone too. Let's see. According to Slobs, it's back.
Okay.
See if I hear that.
Hear that.
See if I hear that. Yeah, it's okay. It's back. Let's see. So yeah, they shouldn't be able to get their records swiped clean just because they behaved well, the way they're supposed to, for a certain amount of time. That your record, it should be, like they called it, a permanent record. It should be on there, and there should be corrections or removals for those who consistently do things wrong.
But there's not. And I hate to beat the same dead horse, but we're not. It's because you're willfully participating in a fascist system. The American police structure was based on, the sheriff's badge, all of that. It was slave catchers initially. That's what our foundation is for modern policing in the United States, slave catchers. Is that something we really want to keep around, or do we want to maybe restructure, maybe look at different ways of approaching community outreach rather than Rosie and the Rustlers? But I mean, I saved this for another weekend, but I was not here for it. That week's episode of the Crunchcast is sponsored by the remarkable tablet. Yes, a tablet so remarkable it has a pun for a name. It's cool. And I can draw a butt. But
what was the last thing I was gonna say? Oh, I don't engage with people on Facebook. Actually, there's a lot of posts about these situations we've talked about, and especially with the Adam Toledo people of a similar background to myself, ethnically, and I've never liked this. The whole, all right, it's your people, you should, be on their side, no matter what type of thing. Like the Lasso group in college campuses, Latin American Students Organization, I think it stands for. They would always ask me, come be a part of it, come hang out with the group. Like, I don't want to. Like, I don't, just because we're from the same background doesn't mean I want to hang out with you. And I've never liked that. So people saying, oh, he's Latin American and you are too, you should, be on his side and only his side forever and ever, amen. And it's just not how it works with me. So I had to see what happened. I had to take in as much as I could of the facts, and then I make my observations. I have my opinion formed from that. I just don't. I don't just this is who he is. He's similar to you,
It's
and
identity politics.
yeah, and I don't agree with that. And then people say, the world is fucked up, and no, I'm not mad. And someone posted this exact, like, I know I'm not mad. I'm fucking furious. And then, why aren't you? Like, because shit is going on all the time. Like we said,
And if
it's
we
a six.
stay mad, we'll just die. Like
Yeah,
literally, your
and
body responds to that level of stress by dying.
I get it. You're like the person who posted. I get it. You're a nice person, and you're very empathetic. But to always feel this anger, this sadness, it's like it's gonna fuck my life up. So I can't, for every little thing, always feel something and always be angry. Like, I have my own life to live. It sounds fucked up. It sounds like an asshole thing to say, but like, I'm
But
just.
and I think that the that amount of anger and is warranted, but of the people have no possession. So let's be mad at that.
Mhm.
Let's be mad at a system that tells young men, hey, if you want to be a man, become a cop with your fucking high school diploma, and that's it. Which I'm not, that's not to disparage people who only have a high school diploma. I only have a high school diploma, but I don't think I should be given a job where I have to de escalate violent situations and also carry a gun wherever I go with that amount of education and only 8 weeks of training.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at these systems. Let's step back from the individual acts of violence and look at the broader scope of what's happening, because it is a system designed to make sure we keep fighting each other and focusing on these things, because they didn't the FBI didn't assassinate MLK until he started saying, okay, you know what? It isn't actually about black and white. It's about people in power and people without.
Mhm.
That's when they started going after him. Because if he just focused on the black versus white thing, it's hunky dory for the folks who hold all the cards.
Mhm.
The second we look over there and say, hey, how come he's being dealt four aces every time?
Right.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Same with taking money from the rich as opposed to the poor. Once you take from the rich, now we
Yeah,
got to pay attention to it.
yeah, Bernie Madoff, he was fine when he was going after, upper middle class people, but once he started
Mhm.
conning the uber wealthy into giving him money, that's when it became a problem, and
Mhm.
that's when he was tried and arrested and convicted. It was fine that JFK was president until he started spouting those commie ideals like, hey, maybe don't beat the shit out of gay people just because they're gay. Hey, maybe black kids should be going to the same schools as white kids. Hey, maybe the way we've been doing things is wrong. Once you say that, once you say we need to adjust these systems, somehow you find yourself dead. And then you find Lyndon B. Johnson as president.
This big dick.
Fucking big Johnson Johnson. I mean,
Oh, I
same
like
with,
that.
again, even, back to that same era, even with Malcolm X, when it was just the Black Panther saying, hey, fuck you, white people, which warranted.
Mm-hmm.
But once it was, hey, let's take a look at these power structures,
You got to
now
take them
you're
down.
dead.
Here comes everybody in the government. So to end it, thank you for watching. Remember to like, share, follow, subscribe. I'm sorry that it keeps going in and out. Facebook has been gone for like 40 minutes at this point, but YouTube kept going, even though it kept reloading. But apparently it's been live the entire time. It's got to be a problem with slobs because everything else keeps working.
What is slobs?
Streamlabs OBS.
Oh, okay.
So it's just OBS, but with this Streamlabs integration.
Neat.
There is one thing we didn't talk about because who gives a shit? This is America. I really don't give a fuck. Prince Philip died.